What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Episode 7 last night delivered on a lot of levels. It really pushed the narrative forward, and we finally started to get a ton of answers that we've had for the better part of a month. Spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode already, we're going to break down the entirety of Episode 7, all of the Easter eggs and things you missed, the character reveals, and of course, what's going on with the ending, and even touch on the post-credit scene. We're going to break everything down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, as well as Disney Plus subscriptions while the shows are live this year on Disney Plus, and we'll announce some new winners for those subscriptions at the end of this video. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, and if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So the name of this episode officially was Breaking the Fourth Wall, referring to when an actor inside a show will turn and address the audience directly, Deadpool style, and that's exactly what Wanda did in the beginning of the episode with the two huge reveals that she gave in to her fear and anger, which incidentally may be the cause of this hex in the first place, and as she says, expanded the borders of her false reality. We then see Wiccan and Speed still dressed respectively in the colors that would represent their official outfits in the Marvel Universe. Watch their control pads change from Xbox to Atari to Uno. They run upstairs to tell their mom something's wrong. Now you can see the red hexagon present on this blanket. That's definitely on purpose. And Wiccan tries to tell his mom that, quote, his head feels weird, he doesn't like it, it's noisy. He's just tapped into his telepathy powers at the end of episode 6, and of course, in the trope of being a telepath, can't silence all the voices in his head. They then remind you quickly his brother has superpowers as well. When Wiccan jokes at Speed, you always get there first, he's the one that's super fast. Then Wanda explains to the audience that she's going to punish herself by taking a day for herself. And while there may be some frustration here with Wanda's lack of responsibility, the fact that she just expanded the hex but doesn't want to do anything about it, the fact that her magic seems to be breaking down, there's an explainer here. The same reason when she comes to the bottom of the stairs and the kids are fighting, she doesn't even notice or acknowledge them at all. In fact, she looks right past them, turns and heads to the kitchen, and the look on their face explains that they're actually shocked that that happened. I think this is a super poignant moment in the entire series, not just for this scene, but in setting up the fact and what's revealed later in the episode that Wanda is perhaps really not the only magical person in town, as Agnes puts it, that her judgment has been at least a little bit influenced and clouded this entire time, and we see this play out throughout the episode now that it's been revealed in this scene. The fact that she doesn't even notice or acknowledge her kids is a clue in that she's definitely not in full control, and we see that play out in the kitchen as we watch modern day almond milk turn into an older milk carton, then eventually bottled milk you'd either get delivered from a milkman or straight from the farm. Quick side note, we know that Jimmy Woo had a missing persons case that was assigned to Monica, and we see missing on the back of this milk carton, but I don't think there's a relation there. That's a young kid, and I'm pretty certain that's just to sort of show you that this milk carton is older and put it in a place in time, much in the way that the control pads in the scene earlier go from modern times to a little bit older in an Xbox One to even older than that in Atari, and then eventually a card game that predates gaming consoles altogether. This milk goes from modern times all the way back to bottled milk. This is a very clear countdown to let you know whatever this is leading towards is right around the corner, and of course at the end of the episode we see that that is true as well. Now, while many elements of this episode, including the intro, drew heavily from Modern Family, the intro song, however, that was all the American version of The Office, and I'm sure there were a lot of you who pinned that song immediately, but there were 3 very creepy Easter eggs during the opening credits. I know what you're doing, Wanda, here on this note. Now, at first, I thought this was magnets on a refrigerator. Maybe Vision had written this, but this is what you get in an anonymous letter when you want to mask your handwriting so that no one can even analyze that. This is a voice that doesn't want to be known speaking to Wanda, and perhaps it's the reveal that's still yet to come in the rest of this series. Now, the last Easter egg was the heart that was drawn around the 10th on this calendar right towards the end of the credits. This is a callback to the first episode. The last time we saw a heart on a calendar on the 23rd of August, meant to imply that Mr. Hart was coming for dinner. Now, unless this means the same thing, which would be hard for me to believe, considering not only have we pushed past that in the narrative, but in the very next scene, Hayward is told that the broadcast is dead. There'd be really no reason for WandaVision in the last 2 episodes to move back to that format. This must mean to imply something else, which I'm sure we will find out in the last 2 episodes. Now, speaking of that very next scene, while it was super short, it set up one very important detail, that S.W.O.R.D. would be launching their own assault on the Hex later that day. Considering we didn't see that during episode 7, they may be arriving at the same time that Vision is arriving to the predicament that we saw at the end of the episode. All this playing out at once, you have to imagine, is going to lead us directly to that scene we saw from one of the earlier trailers where Wanda and Vision tell each other, "This is our home, let's fight for it." You'll have S.W.O.R.D. trying to come in at the same time that Agnes is trying to take control of Wanda. A lot's going to be going on, and I don't expect any sort of denouement by episode 9. I think this is going to just continue to ramp and probably leave us on an enormous cliffhanger going into Spider-Man 3. Now, in the next scene where Vision sort of undoes Darcy's memory and she gets to tell him about what happened, there is an amazing Easter egg, one that actually made me do a double take because of how on the nose it was. There's another very famous blue and gold belt in the Marvel Universe, worn by a character that has ties to groups like the Dark Avengers and the New Avengers, and storyline ties to Secret Invasion, titles we know are coming in the MCU. None other than the character of Sentry. And I know there were a ton of hardcore comic heads last night that when they saw this immediately knew what it was. Like I said, this is so on the nose and very awesome they added this. There's been rumors that Sentry is going to come to the MCU and sometime soon. It's possible this is an Easter egg to let us know he may be right around the corner. Now, in the next scene when Wanda so willingly sends the kids with Agnes, we touched on that already. I really feel like she's already heavily under Agnes's control. That's why she's acting so selfish and oblivious. We push forward into the emails sent by Darcy Lewis to Jimmy Woo's character. "Hey Jimmy, I made it through the firewall. There are dozens of R&D reports on all the same project codenamed Cataract. I found schematics of Vision's body. Hayward wasn't decommissioning Vision, he was trying to bring him back online, and he was using S.W.O.R.D. resources to do it. He tried over and over, but nothing worked until Wanda stole Vision's body. This is a decoy communique he sent to Vision's office. Darcy." Wait, hold up. Nothing worked until Wanda resurrected him. Of course, at least in some part, we know Hayward has something to do with this. We've known it the entire time. His anxiety with this getting out of control is because he sort of probably wants to cover his own ass. And truth be, he could be under the influence of Agnes, like we find out later in the episode. Others are, maybe even a higher villain. We don't know that yet, but we do know, at least in some part, he probably realized that if anybody could bring Vision back, it was Wanda, and that's probably his at least part in this. Maybe he didn't know exactly what he was dealing with and didn't expect things to get this out of control, but the fact that he was withholding information and as early as he was in the series definitely implicates that he's involved, and now that's all coming to light. Now in the next scene we see Wanda losing control, and it's also important to note when Vision finds out that he died twice and Wanda actually killed him one of those times, but it was to save the universe, he really takes it all in stride. But this key scene here where someone labeled as the interviewer, and I made sure to turn the closed caption on to make sure we didn't know who this was asking, says, "Do you think this is what you deserved?" We talked about this in previous recaps. It's a very fine line between the sympathy and empathy you should feel for Wanda, all the pain she's gone through. Vision even talked about the fact that for her, she was snapped and then unsnapped. She hasn't processed any of this grief yet. It's just been a series of a couple of weeks, but for him, it's been such a long time ago. There is a lot going on with her, and to say that she deserves this isn't quite fair. She said we had a really tough go of it, except she did create an alternate reality. She doesn't really want to take responsibility for it. Again, a very fine line for what's going on. And I really like that they had the interviewer ask this question outright, because as an audience member or one of us watching the show, this is a question that we're supposed to ponder. Now we have got to talk about this antidepressant commercial for Nexus, because the Nexus in Marvel is a huge reference. Quote, "The Nexus is a cross-dimensional gateway which provides a pathway to any and all possible realities. This includes realities between realities. It is unknown whether it is created by some being or just one place in the entire multiverse where all the realities naturally intersect." Now, we saw a little bit of this back in Thor Dark World. They sort of referenced the convergence as a time and place where multiple worlds converged. But this is something completely different, and a lot of us have wondered if the Hex itself was meant to be an interdimensional doorway. If this Nexus Easter egg for this antidepressant commercial is meant to imply that this is the Nexus, it could be what we're seeing in the end of the episode, or what the main antagonist needed in the first place was someone like Scarlet Witch, who's been referred to in the Marvel Universe as a Nexus being. They needed her chaos magic in order to make this Nexus possible, a gateway to whomever they need to cross over. Do I need to fill the blanks in for you guys? Probably not. Now finally, Maria tries to break the barrier after the attempt with the thing that she built didn't work, and we get a ton of callbacks in the way of dialogue. You hear Maria, her mother, say, "No, I can't leave Monica." Then you hear a young Monica, which is her, replying, "Mommy, it's okay. I can stay with Grandma and Pop." Chuckling, "There's no way I'm going. It's way too dangerous." You then hear a young Monica say, "Mom, maybe I could fly up and meet you halfway." We then hear Nick Fury's voice, "Only if you learn how to glow like your Aunt Carol," which is ironic because in this very moment, she's learning how to glow like her Aunt Carol. Last piece of dialogue is Carol Danvers herself saying that when she was handing out kids, she got the toughest one. No matter how she feels about Captain Marvel, she still has a lot of love in her heart because it's her encouraging words that she hears last that forces her to power through the barrier of the Hex. And when she does, she has officially become Photon. Now, there were a lot of Marvel fans, me included, who knew this was coming once we knew Monica Rambeau was on the show. But real quick, let's go over her power set as a superhero because they haven't quite defined them yet in the MCU. She has energy absorption, generation, and manipulation. Basically, that's open-ended, but she can blast stuff. She also has the ability to travel at speeds up to the speed of light while in her energy form, which I think was denoted by her eyes turning blue and then unblue, convert her body into any form of energy within the electromagnetic spectrum, and travel in energy through the vacuum of space. She also has intangibility. So she has a ton of power sets now that sort of make her one of the higher powered individuals in the MCU and put her right alongside Captain Marvel. Like I said, the irony of Nick Fury telling her to learn how to glow like your Aunt Carol, well, that's exactly what she did. Now immediately she goes to confront Wanda, and Wanda lights her up. But there's something happening in the scene. It's establishing her as a character. She is still trying to just help Wanda, even though she lights her up and activates her powers. In that moment when she came through the barrier of the Hex, she was working through some of her trauma and her memories. That's why she says, "I don't think I want to run from that anymore. It's part of my truth." She almost reaches through to Wanda, but who shows up other than Agnes to sort of take Wanda away? This is what I meant by shows up through the episode. She has a haze over Wanda. She's able to distract Wanda and make her forget in those moments that are most poignant, back in the episode when Vision said, "This isn't right," and then all of a sudden we find out that Agnes sent Pietro in as a distraction. Every time someone's been trying to reach her and get to the core of who Wanda is as a good person, Agatha is there to sort of cloud the waters, and that is what I think has been going on this whole time. Like I said earlier during this video, when she seems sort of aloof, she doesn't even recognize her kids, it's because Agnes is definitely pulling the strings and distracting her in a way so that she can get her own motives done. Speaking of which, as she makes it into Agnes's house, she looks down and sees the peanut butter and jellies the kids show on TV, and then a cicada over on the curtain, and is all of a sudden reminded of the kids that she's been oblivious to this entire time. Now that cicada is extremely important because the symbolism that goes along with them is extremely hard to deny. Cicadas for many represent personal change, renewal, rebirth, and transformation. A lot of people use cicadas to symbolize their own personal transformation in art, song, poetry, even in tattoo. A cicada inherently symbolizes what they were, a nymph, a youngling, and then all the glory of what they've become in their adult forms. Now, it also has the symbolism of locusts sort of being one of the plagues, but more important than that, this is representing a chrysalis, a changing, a rebirth of something. And to have that symbolism butt up against these two kids, what we know about from the comics, and major spoiler warning here, that the kids are just a piece of the soul of Mephisto. Could it be that Mephisto has all the power he needs now to be reborn? We pointed to earlier in the episode the fact that it felt like a countdown, like whatever this has been leading towards, we're finally there. They've had Wanda under their spell and control long enough. They've drained enough power. Well, and we know that because there's only 2 episodes left. As I also said earlier in this video, I would expect this to end on a cliffhanger. I don't think we're going to get any major resolutions. But as we make our way into the basement, there is a ton going on there, and undeniably this symbol of the devil right here, the yak, yakety yak, don't talk back, from episode 1, I pointed it out then. This is definitely what that's meant to imply. That book is a totally other subject, an Easter egg, which will be the focus of a deep dive hopefully later as we get into that in the week. There's a huge reveal now that Agnes is indeed Agatha Harkness. Good job, YouTubers. We had this pinned since last summer. Her pendant is back, Senior Scratchy in hand, and now she is telling Wanda, hey, listen, you're not the only magic lady in town. In fact, actually, this has been my show all along. And then they even run Agatha Harkness her own credit song, as in saying, yeah, this is WandaVision, but you know what? Agatha Harkness has been running this the entire time. It's a huge reveal, and for those of us who thought she may have some control over Wanda, well, she's had a ton of control over Wanda and got her all the way into her basement, locked with her 2 kids for all the power she needs. In fact, everything Agatha's needed and wanted out of Wanda, she's gotten up until this point. Now, as I've pointed out in other videos, Agatha Harkness has actually been on both sides of the ledger when it comes to villains and superheroes, and I'm not quite sure of her role going forward into the series. Eventually, she should become the caretaker for Franklin Richards, but either way, at this point, she's definitely set up as an adversary. We see her there animating Pietro, which we'll also get to later in the week. This has been Agatha Harkness all along, at least on one level, and whatever this is leading to, well, we're about to see very soon. This basement with all of this imagery for the devil certainly makes it feel like it's Mephisto, but we're still in the dark there, pun totally intended. Now, Monica Rambeau is not satisfied, so she follows and finds her way to a door to the basement. She opens it, you see the vines there, and this happening all in the mid-credit scene. If you bowed out right when the credits started, you might have missed this post-credit, mid-credit scene. And then who shows up other than this Pietro imposter, as Vision explains him, to say Snooper's gonna snoop, and then they cut right there. We wondered what happened to him during this episode. Well, here he is. It doesn't seem like he was that aggro when he found her, but you have to imagine that if she's animated him, and that being Agatha, to work on his behalf, then he's probably going to intercept Monica here. Although we know Monica has superpowers, so maybe that's going to be the first display of Photon. Hopefully that'll happen in the next episode. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. How crazy is this getting? Let me know all your theories for these Easter eggs. Of course, any Easter eggs I missed. We'll continue to do deep dives throughout the week on all of the important scenes, what's going on in this episode, and who this real villain could be. I am all ears to your theories. Let me know down below, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff and announce some brand new winners for the Disney Plus subscriptions. We're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, which will easily hit by next month, as well as Disney Plus subscriptions while all the shows are live. Congratulations to the brand new winner, Carter Pisano, for this comment here. Can't even wait for the next episode. I agree, man. I can't wait either. Go ahead and DM me on Instagram at IamFires, or email me on my business email. It's on the back end of this channel under the About section. We'll verify your account and get it right out to you in the form of a Visa gift card to cover a year's worth of subscription. And guys, it's that easy. All you have to do, hit the subscribe button, be a subscriber, leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. The best way to do that, the best way to keep up with the content of the channel, is to hit the notification bell with notifications turned on. And of course, if you enjoyed today's video or the other videos that we do, go ahead and hit that like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me over on Instagram and Twitter under IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify with original music under All Fires. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.